We're starting a series on living in uncertain times. And we talked about the situations last week and how difficult it is with COVID and social unrest. But before I deal with the specific situations, I think I need to talk about some basics. So I'm going to give two mini messages on one. The first one's going to be on the basics of decision making, because a lot of decisions you will have to make to choose from the options before you. The second is discernment. This is going to be really critical because we live in sectarian society where it's either all this or all that. So first in this message, it's going to be about decision making. Now I'm going to make some assumptions. And the assumptions are, I should say, that these decisions are not moral, because morality is clear in Scripture. Second, I'm assuming that it is not really ministry related. Now, some people could say, well, is it all life ministry? Well, I don't want to get into this in a 7-minute message. So I'm not assuming this is ministry oriented. Third, I'm going to assume that prayer undergirds all that you do, and it will be the factor that runs through everything, but I'm not going to talk about prayer. So how do we make decisions in life, especially in uncertain times? I'm going to float an idea, a concept before you. It's known theologically as common grace. Common grace is something that God has given to all mankind and is not limited to your faith in God. It is not related to your commitment to religion, but all people can apply these concepts. And you see common grace throughout Scripture. I'm going to give you 5 principles to help us in decision making. The first, do you have a desire factor? It's a really interesting verse, and I think I've mentioned it in these mini sermons in the past. And it's found in 1 Corinthians 10:27. If an unbeliever invites you to dinner and you want to go, do you want to do it? Are you open to it? This is very, very important because a lot of times we do make decisions based upon what someone forces upon us, and that is not a good thing. What do you want to do? But there's more than just desire, because I think in the American society, we make desire as the number one thing, and we don't consider the other 4. And then we fail because desire doesn't really get you where you want to go or we need to go. 2, aptitude. Interesting, in the book of Exodus, chapter 36, verse 8, out of the workmen, the craftsmen were chosen to build the curtains of the tabernacle. Aptitude. Are you skilled for it? You may want to do something, but you have no skill to do it. So the question is, well, isn't that God's desire? Because that's why He gives me the desire of mine own heart. Yeah, but do you have the ability? I might want to play in the NBA. I don't have the aptitude for it. I might have the desire, but no aptitude. My aptitude is sitting in front of TV and watching the game. 3, the cost factor or the commitment factor. Jesus talks about it in a parable in Luke 14 about who builds a tower without calculating the cost, because if it's left undone, people will laugh at you. It's really important, this third one. Do you have the commitment of time, commitment in finances, or just want to do it and then you leave it undone? So much of American society is based upon this. Oh, it's what I want to do, and then it's left undone. I have a tendency to do this. I have so many hobbies. I do it. Then I don't continue it. 4, is there an opportunity factor? Paul talks about this in 1 Corinthians 7:21, how he tells everyone to stay in the manner in which they are called, but if you are a bondservant and you can go free, rather do that. The betterment opportunity. Is it there before you? If it is, then you take it. The 5th one is very, very important, and it's the risk factor. Acts 11:19 talks about how the persecution on the church caused the believers to scatter. No prayer needed. You run from danger. That is a natural tendency of mankind, and it's a good one, to preserve ourselves. But the risk factor is not just to yourself, It's to your family too and those around you. Sometimes you say, well, I can take it, but then you leave a carnage of your entire family behind you. And that's not a good decision. And the risk factor may involve health, as it does with COVID at this time. It might involve your emotions. It might involve financial ramifications, the decisions you make. Now, I've given you 5 principles and 5 factors in decision making in common grace. Well, if they all align, I would say go for it. If they all don't align, I'd say forget it. Run away from that idea. The problem is that most of our decisions is a mixture of these 5. Some for and some against, some positive and some negative. And if that occurs, I'd say, well, talk to friends, talk to family, talk to other people that will be affected by this decision, and realize that of these 5, perhaps the most important ones, the ones that have a little bit more weight, are aptitude, cost, and risk factor. Well, I hope this helps you in the time of shelter in place. It helps us in making decisions, in living in uncertain times. And I hope that the Lord can use this to bring peace and to bring a path for you to live. For we know that God is a gracious God, but He has given us freedom, and He has given us an ability to be wise in our decision making.